Yeah.
Hey guys, we're back here working on the Dyna Fxdx project bike, and today we're doing a little switching on of our gears here to the suspension and tires and brakes. We're working on that right now. So George Fxdx from Harley Davidson is building this motor to push well over 100 horsepower to the rear wheel. So one of the things we did on the running gear is we converted to a chain drive to keep it from having any issues with all that power coming to the ground. The next thing we're doing is upgrading the suspension so we can get the power to the ground. This is the original shock. Hold it up against the Oleans. You'll see there's some differences. Mainly the first being that there's a piggyback remote reservoir on the Olean shock. That's going to give you much better dampening characteristics and the ability to withstand heat because there's more oil and nitrogen in there. And also it's completely adjustable. Chris, show them where the adjustability on the Olean shocks is.
Also, these hold nitrogen. These don't. These are just sealed. If this thing blows, you can't rebuild it. These are rebuildable shocks. And compression's here. This knob right here, very easy to get to. And rebound is right here. This black knob, you can't see.
So compression is when you hit a bump, the wheel coming up, and the rebound on the bottom is so the wheel won't extend too rapidly. So if you hit, let's say, a pothole,
Exactly.
The compression is going to make the difference. If you hit a speed bump, the rebound, if that's set right, you won't go flying over the handlebars. And Chris is an ex-pro motocrosser, still rides the vet expert class in New England, and he's been tuning suspension for over 30 years. So he's very competent in understanding this, and he's set up a few other things, which this is one of the first Harleys I've actually, or second Harley, excuse me. We just did the CVO bike the same way. Chris, explain how you set this shock and how that's done, the different sag settings.
Well, first you take a measurement from a straight point from like here to here with it lifted, with the wheel lifted off the ground, so there's no pressure on the shock.
What do you call that
We
measurement?
call that that's a preload. Just shit.
That's the static, the unloaded setting, right? That'll give you the distance between the 2 points when there's no load on it, and when you set the bike back on the ground, that's called the free sag.
They call it free sag.
Free sag, yeah.
Free sag. And so ride height is a measurement I take when I take the free sag measurement.
Now the free sag is the weight of the bike. Some bikes vary 50, 60 pounds depending on what you put on them. And this spring is set up for a 220-pound rider. We're an Oleans dealer. I special ordered these from Oleans for the Dyna. And Chris is adjusting the spring preload by turning this collar in or out to make the spring shorter, which will jack the rear end up, or make it longer, which will lower it. And you take that measurement from here to here, your initial measurement while it's in the air, and then you drop it on the ground, and the two differences gives you the free sag. What do they recommend? What do they recommend?
Free sag is around 5 millimeter to 15 millimeter, but then there's the ride sag. So that's when I have you sit on it, and then we'll take another measurement, and the measurement on that should be.
So just to reiterate, the free sag is nobody on it, and then I sit on it, and you determine how much sag is. So
Nobody
that way,
on it, but the bike's own weight.
yeah, that's free sag. And then when you sit on it, what is that called?
That's called
Rider Sag. So
sag.
I weigh 40 pounds with a leather jacket and boots on. So I'm going to be different than, let's say, someone who's 150. So, and then you adjust it. So how much free sag do you recommend?
The difference on a street bike like this is like 25 to 35 millimeters is
That's
what's
right out of
recommended.
Okay, 20. And what is that in inches?
It's about an inch is 25 millimeters. So 25 to 35 is like an inch to an inch and a quarter.
Since I bought my first brand new FXR, I bought in 1990. I bought a brand new FXR SSP Lowrider Sport Edition in 93. I've always upgraded my suspension. My first set was a set of Works Performance upside down shocks, and I always go a little longer than stock, except for on this particular model. It's already jacked up from the factory. You can see the rear tire almost clears the rear fender, or the fender almost clears the tire entirely. The difference between these two shocks here, this is a much higher performance, better dampening, infinitely adjustable with the spring preload, so how heavy the spring is and how heavy the dampening is, both on the compression and rebound. So huge adjustability. These are the best, one of the best, if not the best on the market. We're an Oleans dealer. We also sell other brands of shocks, but that's what I put on my bike. I'm building this one for me. So that's the rear end there. We also, the tire, we upgraded to a Michelin Scorcher 31, one of my favorite tires, brand new set of sticky tires. This bike had the original tires on it. The bike only has 3,000 miles on it. So the tire wasn't worn out, but it's a 18-year-old tire. So it's not worn out, but it was too hard. And I'm not going to ride fast on a tire that's over 7 years old. So, and I plan on riding this bike fast. So we upgraded to the Michelin Scorcher rear tire, the Olean shocks. We've upgraded the rear motor mount, which is a huge integral piece of the handling on these Dynas because the swing arm is not attached to the frame. It's attached to the transmission, which is attached to the frame through a motor mount, a rubber mounted motor mount. So we've upgraded those motor mounts to a much higher performance so they won't get the dreaded wobble that the Dynas are known for. And also the front motor mount was converted to a FXR style rubber mounted front motor mount. So the huge upgrade, and George pointed out why you want to do that. So for handling, we've got the motor mounts front and rear, the Olean shocks, and on the front, these forks, the first time I rode this, first of all, the brakes are real spongy. They go all the way down. We haven't bled them yet. They're not worn out. They just need to be bled. The forks were wicked spongy. They only run like a 5 or 10 weight oil. Yeah, and it has to, Chris, what are you going to do with the front end? Explain exactly what you do there.
I'm going to put a new set of race tech fork springs, and I'll measure the preload and set it up with fresh oil because that's 18-year-old oil. You said the bike's.
Oh yeah, it's the original 18-year-old fork oil.
So brake fluid should be done every 2 years. And
actually, no, that was just done. That was just done by the previous owner. The brake fluid's new, front and rear.
Well, I'm going to flush it anyways and bleed it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't trust anybody.
All right, perfect. They might have done it wrong. I appreciate that. Thank you. Now the forks, we're going to a 20 weight oil. That's what George recommends. It's a much heavier duty oil, and we're going with the heavy duty fork springs, and we're going to bleed the front brakes because the first time I rode this thing, it was actually kind of sketchy. I was burning down a back road, hit the brake, and it didn't engage until it came almost to the handlebars, and then the forks compress way too much, and it just totally offsets the handling. So you want a stiff set of fork springs on this thing. So, and on the front, this is the original front tire on here. Just to give you an idea how low mileage this bike is. This is the original 18-year-old tire. It looks like brand new, but I just don't trust a tire of that age. If you look at the date code on this tire is a 2001 date code. That's when it was. Every tire has a date code on it. If you don't know, check your bike. You'll see the date code on it, and you'll be determine exactly how old it is. I had Chris break out the flashlight here. So this is a 3800. It is so that means a 38 week of 2000. This bike is a 2001 model. That's proof that's the original tire off that bike, front and rear. So it gives you the pedigree of how low mileage this bike really has. And it is a 2001 model. It was built in October of 1000. You see that right there? I don't know if they can see that. I'm not sure, but well, trust me, it's 1000. So original tires on the bike. Now these tires look brand new. You're out of your mind if you go fast around corners with a 18-year-old set of tires. It's like riding on a brick. So we're upgrading to the top of the line Michelin Scorcher front tire. So we're gonna have the Michelin Scorchers front and rear. Chris, what do you recommend for the tire pressure settings on these?
I'm probably 36, 32 because you ride it pretty hard, and we want to keep them a little on the soft end. We usually a big heavy bike like this, you're on 36.
So a nice sticky set of tires front and rear, Michelin Scorchers. The shocks are upgraded. You upgraded to the chain drive. You got the heavy duty fork springs. This thing's going to handle like a dream. We just got set up as a dealer for Leather Pros. I have my first 3 sets of bags. They're the #1 best Dyna Fxdx replica bags. They're awesome. They're expandable. This is the new part 3 or revision 3 bag that's coming out. So I'm putting a set of saddlebags on this. I'm putting a Saddleman. George has a Saddleman gel seat that's going on here with a backrest. So Christy and I can pack some stuff on here and just burn down the road. We got set up as a dealer for JD Customs. So you see how the big gap between the headlight, that's stock like that. And if you look on the triple clamp, there's a bolt right here. That's because this is supposed to come with an Fxdx. This was the sport touring model. It came from the factory with bags and a windshield, and like many people, they took it off because they thought it didn't look cool. And they did this, which I think was really stupid. So JD Customs has an awesome replica fairing that's actually can be painted by them, the factory black color, which is what we're doing. And they have a recurved, restyled windshield, which has a smoked shield on it. So that's coming on it. And show us the mirrors too. The guy put chrome on this bike, which really is not the best thing to do when you have a blacked out bike. You're supposed to leave it that way. So hold that up so they can see the difference. So we're putting the blacked out mirrors on there. Those are off a Dyna S, a 2016 or 2017 Dyna S, much better. And these levers were chrome also when we got the bike. So we upgraded to the black Dyna S, and we're also putting my favorite grips on here. Now we're talking about performance. These are the Performance Machine grips. I'm a motocrosser. Chris is a motocrosser. We usually ran Renthal grips. These are Renthal grips with a Harley Davidson style. That means that they're metal on the end, but Renthal in the middle. So this will all be like a dirt bike grip. That's much better than what it was, right?
Way better than holding on to those shiny hot things.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to look a lot better. The windshield's a 14-inch windshield. It'll be very functional for high-speed burns down the highway. And we'll have the brakes refreshed a little bit. At some point in a later date, maybe stage 10 or video number 10, we're going to upgrade these brakes to the full dresser front brakes, which George will explain why we're doing that and how we're doing that without spending a fortune. Again, this was a budget build where George is proving you can get well over 100 rear wheel horsepower. We're upgrading it only to 95 cubic inch. We bought the 2006 series heads and a 257 cam plate, the heavy duty oil pump, a tuner, and a thunder header is going on there. So this is gonna be one badass ride. Stay tuned for our next part of the series. Horsepower Man's coming back tomorrow. Just do a quick lap before we leave the shop here. I want to show you some of the other projects we're working on. We're resurrecting a Kawasaki S1 250. We've got Pete Baccarosa's GS 1150 here, and Mark just resurrected this vintage Harley Davidson AMF. He was burning around on that yesterday. He's putting some new brake pads in it. Over here we got a Montesa Coda that we're putting together. Or is that an OSA? What is this thing? OSA 250 trials bike, and Doc's resurrecting a Harley Davidson Sprint. So got some cool stuff going on here, not just the Harley stuff. So stay tuned. The other project I'll share with you guys is the landscaping we're working on out here. This is going to be an outdoor sales area off the bar on the first floor, bar and gift shop. And we just rebuilt this wall completely all the way down here, repointed it. And one of our employees, Willie, actually smashed this wall down with a Bobcat by accident a few years ago. So I'm getting some more bricks, and we just picked up 2 tractor trailer loads of pavers, and we're putting interlocking concrete pavers in here. And this will be an outdoor sales area, another 3,000 square foot to add on to the 65,000 square foot we have on the, that's a sales showroom up there. That's the restoration shop. And those 2 floors over there are the museum. So stay tuned. Again, we'll be finishing the motor on this thing probably Saturday, tomorrow. I'm really excited about that. So we'll see you guys all tomorrow, and God bless America.